On December 5th, 2009, this channel was created. It is now December 5th, 2019. It has now been 10 years. Hello, I'm Orylen. Welcome to this channel, and welcome to me being super reflective for who knows how long as we take a look at 10 years of this channel, pretty much following a trend of a lot of other people who started in 2009, and where they ended up, and really just kind of reflecting on where my channel has gone, especially with a channel that has not been as successful as a lot of other channels who have been reflecting on their time. Because, less than 600 subscribers in 10 years? Not what you would really call a success. So, let's actually take a look and go through my thought process, really, as we're going through here. There was so much that was actually happening on this channel at the very beginning here, like pick up your old-time favorites or forgotten gems and wipe off the dust. There was a point in this channel where I was just called it wipe off the dust, like I was trying to actually start like a show with no actual concepts whatsoever, but really that's what your first couple years actually looks like. No concept whatsoever. Because the only thing that was really on my mind when I was starting this channel was like, yeah, I want to give this a shot. I want to see what I can do in order to be informative, and selfishly it was more about actually being first when it came to getting stuff out there, because if you're first, that means that people are going to be coming to your content first. It's the only one of its kind, and that followed me for so many years of this channel, just that kind of mentality. Then again, also with YouTube, with the whole trending tab, that's pretty much all it is, but that's, who did it first? Who's really popular because of it? That's why I kind of started with Star Ocean, because it was two other people at the time who were also doing LPs of it, but they've been doing it for, a very, very long time, and I'm going, I could probably catch up and actually finish my project before they do. And I don't think I actually succeeded on that. I did beat out one person, which actually means completely nothing at that point. So yeah, the first video on the channel that you'll find is the first episode of Star Ocean, No Job in JRPG Land. It's not the first video, actually, but let's just, watch the first video and see what it actually sounds like. I did watch it beforehand, so it's not a complete reaction. Hey! Oh boy. Already have to stop it. Less than a second in. I can't, for the life of me, remember why there was so much shuffling at the very beginning of this video. That's a TikTok now. Just here, I have a song for you, shake everything. Oh my goodness. It's kind of awful.
Hey everybody, this is Orylen, coming to you with my very first Let's Play.
Everything's drowning itself out. I love it. I had to do this intro 14 to 20 times in order for it to actually sound okay. But then again, it is your first video where you're actually starting to talk. So it's weird, to say the least. Still weird now, talking to myself. Now I have a camera in front of me.
Now we're gonna play Star Ocean. This is the very first one for Super Nintendo. In about 1995, I believe, 2003 emulator. And we have Radix here.
I hate the emulation so much on it, because it just kind of, all the sound just reverberates everywhere. There was so many problems in terms of the sound because it would just fall apart. So there's some videos that have copyrighted music on it because, it was back in 2010. Nobody cared.
Here, Radix, not Radic. Because this one was remade for the PSP, as you well know. They call him Radic. I don't get that at all.
Such an asshole. Such a... Yeah, it's hashtag not my Rodic. It's even Rodic. There's a comment down here going yeah, Rodic. Not Radic or whatever you mentioned. It's yeah, I'm just an idiot. For Pete's sake. God, this video is just a mess, isn't it? There's so much sound mixing problems. I really have almost nothing nothing to say. And it's really the case with a lot of these videos, is that you're trying to fill time. At least I don't like being one of those people who read out the text on screen. I was never one of those people. So, at least I had that going for me. I don't like to narrate what's on screen. I like to react to what that actually is. Now, when it came to like my first video, it's actually like nowhere. I deleted it so many years ago, and I don't even have it on anything like hard drive wise. It's kind of a brash, bold move for creating a channel with 0 views, 0 subscribers, all of those different things. It was called The Oncoming Storm, which was pretty much me having all of these wonderful different ideas for videos that I could actually do. And then taking pictures off of Google, blowing them up, cropping them down, and going like, hey, here's these fast-moving mystery picture 15-second video. Throw in some Chrono Cross music because why not, and call that a video. And yeah, it was a waste of time. And to be completely honest, from what I remember of that video, I still haven't done all of the games on that thing. It's been 10 years and I still haven't gone through my entire list yet. I will say with Star Ocean though, is that there's a lot of good things that still come out of it in terms of trends that went on my channel. I try to go through most of my projects, except for like some exceptions, where I want to have as much information as possible when I go into them. That being said, there's a bunch of different videos in here, like, my goodness, I keep forgetting that some of them were like 3 to 4 minutes long, just kind of going through a sequence, and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna cut it there, that's it. But that was also back when there was the 11-minute time limit. What I really liked about it is that I was still learning stuff even through that current playthrough. Like the fact that you were able to get Fia and Ashley in the same party, I never knew before. I thought it was just like you had to have Cius, Ashley, or Fia, and that was it. Or Cius. Keep forgetting how much it's actually pronounced because it's been a while since I played First Departure. The only other thing I wanted to mention with Star Ocean is the 42nd episode, Lycan Blitz. Right after the whole Marvel plotline, I remember I was in grade 12 when I started the channel, and during English class I just had a piece of paper. During one of our times, I wasn't working on anything English-wise. I had a piece of paper in front of me, and I was just writing down my first actual script for my video. And it was a terrible experience actually doing that. Because I'm going I have no idea how to pace anything. I don't know how long this is actually going to fit into the video that I have. Because I could go over, I could be under, and then have nothing to say. There's so much that was happening there.
Welcome back to Star Ocean. Orylen here, and I'm heading back to Tatooine Arena for a special theme that can occur. But while I'm doing this, I'm going to explain as best as possible what happened in the last episode.
That was my pacing. That was, oh my goodness, that was my pacing. Just go. Just beat through my script. Oh my goodness, it was so that. My God. And then 60, well, there was 69 videos because I did a trailer for the epic 2-parter of what I decided to call Crater. My goodness. Completely forget this video.
Well, this week has been such a pain. It's not even done yet. I might as well watch some TV while I'm at it.
It was my first April Fool's video.
Happy April Fools, everybody! Ha ha ha!
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely forgot about that video because I didn't even put it in the playlist for Stay Tuned. We'll get to Stay Tuned. Because before that, I have to talk about Sword of Eteria, which is completely, I just want to do it over. It was such a train wreck, because, completely bold, confident move is that, yeah, I'm going to go from a Super Famicom emulated game on my computer that's really easy in order to record, and then take a Dazzle. Do you remember Dazzle capture devices? Way back in the day? I'm going to take that, do a complete recording spree off of my PS2, which somehow is able to play a European copy of Sword of Eteria, no idea how, and then it never ran again and completely broken, and I don't even have it anymore. Now I have a Japan copy, which is so much better. And yeah, just deal with it in all hindsight, pretty much. Yeah, it's such a mess. I didn't do this project justice at all. Yeah, I just want to do it over completely. Show it off in a better light. It'll probably be claimed by Konami because what was really surprising was all of a sudden out of the blue, especially with the Konami news years ago, that it's like they were just claiming everything. I'm going like, well, I don't know if they remember that they actually did this game because it was a complete failure in Japan and in Europe. And then all of a sudden, yeah, well, they're gonna claim the first video. Just the first, with its cutscene at the very beginning there. So yeah, if anything happens, if you see ads on it, because I still can't monetize anything, yeah, that's why. Stay Tuned was, I guess you consider, a huge improvement for my channel going on to a third project. I knew I wanted to do it because at the time there was only one other playthrough, and it had worse sound mixing than my Star Ocean playthrough. And that's mainly because when you play Stay Tuned plays loud. It completely ignores what else is happening in the background. So if you have a microphone plugged in, it's super quiet compared to how loud Stay Tuned actually plays on your computer. Some people would consider, like, this is the absolute peak of my channel. It's certainly still one of the most viewed videos on my channel, especially with the first video. So nostalgic. I don't even remember how much growth I actually had through Stay Tuned.
6, developed by Funnybone Interactive, and published by Sierra Entertainment.
Now, that microphone is still the same microphone that I used for Star Ocean and Sword of Eteria. To be completely honest, I actually still have it. Here's the baby! Aw, it's so... Like, this was, like, what, $3 at a dollar store? Or, like, in the back of, like, a used electronics store, pretty much. Just in, like, a random paper package, and that was pretty much it. It got me through so much. Until I realized, well, it was technically only recording mono, one channel. And I was just kind of exporting it as stereo, and that's how it worked. I knew I wasn't going to be able to use it, but to be completely honest, I'll tell you how long I was actually using this microphone pretty soon. Because, it was a long time. It was a very long time before I got, like, any sort of improvement in my setup. The other thing about just 2011, or just, like, that point of YouTube, was that transcribing audio was a thing, and putting in closed captioning and auto-generating it was a thing. And I do remember, like, there was some really just weird stuff that was showing up in people's videos whenever they used it. So, like, for instance, like, I put something down right there. No, it's completely different now. Yeah, like, that time was just a fantastic time, really. It's also where I got, like, a lot of comments. A whole lot. And in terms of, like, being one of my most popular videos, it certainly was a case of me getting actual YouTube comments. The ones that you completely ignore, pretty much, and just don't read. Because when it comes to my channel, I like that it was really small because the people who were commenting were actually commenting things. But when you have a view count like that big for a channel as small as mine, you get a lot of just, like, random stuff here. Can you play this Rayman 3? Just no. Somebody said no. I hate this dude's voice. He sounds like an even more obnoxious Andy Dick. Yeah, there we go. Fantastic. I would get that kind of comment every now and again. See, this is what happens when you're less popular, but all of a sudden those comments kind of just, like, fly under the radar right there. And to be honest, like, with that kind of success, it was really just because there was no other way in order to watch the game at the time. So I was constantly getting questions about, like, how do you run this? How do you run this? How do you run this? I did do a tutorial, but it's really old now. Some of the steps are pretty much similar. It's just getting it to run on a virtual machine now. Pandemonium was really fun. I had this whole idea going around in my head when it came to PlayStation 1 games and their manuals. So Pandemonium and Croc were kind of under this category. I was going to think about doing Crash Bandicoot at some point because there's a lot of information that's just hidden away in the manual that nobody really pays attention to. And with Pandemonium, I did it first because, one, I really like the game, and two, the progression of the game in terms of going from level to level to level. In the manual, they try to make it make as much sense as possible when it comes to that. And I love that even like years later on some of the levels, especially when it came to the comments that I was getting on that, either people were having nostalgia vibes, or all of a sudden people would just kind of mention to me going like, well, there is this other place in like one of the levels, like level 3, which is one of my favorites. It's like, did you know that there was this secret area, like just in one of the areas where there was a whole bunch of other treasure? And I'm just going like, no, I didn't know at all. Yeah, D for Doa, there we go. Yeah, 457. Did you know that if you run into the wall behind you without jumping back onto the platform, there's a secret area where there is more treasure? Those are the comments I love. You think you know a game enough after playing it like 20, 25 times throughout your life that, yeah, it can just like be more, there could be more stuff that you have completely no idea about. And he's literally talking about,
No need for fire.
Right there on the left, that little like discolored area, that is a secret area in order to get to more treasure. So there's like 120% treasure you can get on that level. It's so crazy that I didn't know about that before. And it took, well, six years ago, that was 2013, for me to know about it. It's crazy. I'm amazed, and it's one of the things that I really liked about the comments of my channel is that the people who were commenting usually had things to say, and it's really good. Like, sure, this view count means pretty much nothing in the grand scope of things, but I love it all the same. Like, the people who are watching are usually people who are actually watching. Yeah, this is kind of the bones of what was actually happening with my very first video, because I did it for this. And I even like spliced in some of the Japanese version because I was going to do some comprehensive information work on that too with miracle hoppers or magical hoppers. I keep getting the Pandemonium 2 name Miracle Jumper confused. Because it was really interesting to see the difference between the North American and the Japanese release of just making two very different anime characters in order to put them together. And people are going like, what is this? I didn't even know about this altogether. Which made people think of going like, maybe you should actually like do magical hoppers. I'm going like, the purpose of this first video was really not to do that. It really wasn't, because it's the same game. It's just that the beginning was different, and it's like the beginning was different because it had this guy as Sid, and then the ending was different completely. And really the ending was really on the Sega Saturn version, which it would take me a very long time in order to upload that, but it's there. And it's pretty fantastic, that kind of information that was happening there. I don't want to talk about the soundtracks for too long, because really I was uploading a couple soundtracks to my channel. With Star Ocean, though, I realized back then that really that music wasn't readily available to listen to. So I had like the sound fonts, I was able to find those and kind of get those uploaded a little bit. And then anything that was missing, I was just playing through Star Ocean again and recording where it was actually taking place. So just recorded it and ripped it right out of the game. I even got contacted, I remember a long time ago, going like, where did you get this music from? Where did you get this music from? Because I'm trying to do a compilation so it's easily downloadable. I know that I really wasn't all that helpful in that scheme of things, because I really do appreciate the music, but I'm not technically knowledgeable in terms of what the music is actually coming from. So if you ever find like a download link of the Star Ocean Super Famicom version, you might find me in the credits, because I did talk with the person who was actually doing it. So you might find my name on there, which is pretty cool to say the least. Now we get into Journeyman Project, which kind of encompassed my channel for years, pretty much. I love Journeyman Project so much, and I'm so glad that over the years I've been able to do the 4 games, starting with Turbo, and even kind of going back to Turbo a little bit with Pegasus Prime at the very end, just put it all nice together and nice and tight knit. It was just a really fun time, and a great time for my channel, especially when it came to finding that fantastic community around Journeyman Project and what kind of was happening there, and seeing it get revitalized a little bit over the last decade, with Pegasus Prime being re-released and all of the different merch that was happening there. And I look forward to, if anything is going to happen in the future with it, because I'll certainly be talking about it more as I was going through, because I didn't want to just like blow through the Journeyman Project series. I wanted to like let it coast, let it sit, make sure that I was doing what I really wanted to do with it. So I took some steps in terms of actually making sure that I was able to do it properly. Because right after that, I did Croc, which continued on with the Pandemonium vibes and structure that I kind of went and did there. Because I really like Croc. I really do. It's such a lighthearted game. I keep hearing the soundtrack everywhere because the soundtrack is stellar, and it's just really good. It's just really good. It was a fun time. Oh, geez. I even have that update video right there. That update video was a dark time. 2012. This was back in the day when this game wasn't called, After the Echo, it was called Sequence. Because they had to change its name for some reason a couple of years later. Now, when it came to my channel as well, when it came to like the About page, I did put in an entire paragraph saying that I'm open to requests. And when it came to requests, I actually like wasn't expecting to actually have people like mention that before. Like this was put onto my channel like after I got a couple of like messages, because you were able to have like private messages on your YouTube channel a long time ago. And I would have people message me going like, hey, it would be really cool if you would play this game or this game or this game. I was like partway through Star Ocean, and I got my first request. Like I probably had like 4 or 5 subscribers at that time, and one of them was just like, it would be really cool if you would play Grandia on your channel. That it never surfaced in terms of actually doing it, because after Star Ocean, there was a lot that was just happening. I was going into university. Who knows, I might do Grandia still in the future, but there's still so many RPG projects that I want to do. I also got like a bunch of like really interesting ones, like Power Slave, which was another request that was really like kind of out there, and going like, maybe you should do some first-person shooters. Who knows? Ones that people don't really know about. Hexen, maybe do that. So like the next thing I was doing a mix between 2 requests that I got. One was Beneath the Steel Sky, which is a fantastic game. And in my mind, I'm going like, I'm still super mad because this year it was announced that there's a sequel now to Beneath the Steel Sky, Beyond the Steel Sky, for Apple Plus, their game streaming service. And I still remember those articles that were talking about the long-awaited sequel to Beneath the Steel. I'm going like, you have probably never played Beneath the Steel Sky if you're thinking that, yeah, there should be a sequel to this. Like, the end of the game is really tight-knit and finished and great. I'm going like, I have to play it sometime. I'm looking forward to playing it in 2020 because I kind of have to. Like, just for myself, I want to know what this sequel actually looks like. And then Rayman, on the other hand, I'm going like, yeah, this is the first time I actually got mad at a game. Oh boy. Rayman's hard. Rayman's a hard game. But I think that the people who requested those to me definitely enjoyed, at the time, what I actually did with it. Because again, I mentioned that it's like with my requests that I want to actually take my time with them, do my research, make sure that everything is pathed out, everything's structured pretty well of what I'm going to be doing per video. So it took a little bit in order to actually get it done. But it was super fun, really. It was a good time for both of those. And they were both modest requests that I was able to do. One adventure, one platformer. It was great. Because then I did Pandemonium 2. And Pandemonium 2 was kind of more of just Pandemonium 1, really. I do have my gripes with it because it feels less special. It's certainly more trippy than Pandemonium 1, but I like Pandemonium 1's progression in that everything went into the next level. Whereas Pandemonium 2 was just like, I'm going to go psychedelic. I'm going to put in every single color known to man. And then it also had the longest video at the time that took me for my computer forever to process, which was doing the hour-long level. I just remember like leaving it in the morning to process, and I left it for about 10 hours in order to process. And I'm going like, anything happens during those 10 hours that makes it like stop, or if there's a problem, I'm going like, this is bad. This is going to be not a good time. But I was glad that I was able to actually get that video out at all with the computer that I had at the time. Then I decided to head back and do something really comfortable, something really exciting that I was actually really looking forward to do, which was Buried in Time. I was asked a while ago, like, now that I've done all 4 games, which was your favorite? Which was the one that you liked the most? And for me, it was Buried in Time. Because Buried in Time was the one I played the least when I was growing up, because I kept getting stuck. In terms of the puzzles, and in terms of the disc swapping. Because one of my discs was corrupted, unfortunately, back in the day. And the thing I liked about it was that Buried in Time has a lot more thinking and deep rooting, and a lot more like world building in terms of being part of this larger governance between different planets and different alien races, on top of time travel. And there was a lot of like political themes that were going on in that game. And it's going like, it really made me think. It didn't make me think at all when I was younger, because a lot of it was optional in order to actually watch. And I'm going like, I have to look at everything that is happening here. And there was so many extra videos because of that. I didn't want to just put it into just each and every video, because I wanted to make sure that the main stuff was in the main videos. But yeah, when it came to Buried in Time, it was just such a nice, fun thing to really do. And yeah, it's certainly my favorite in the series, still. And then I had Kingsley's Adventure. Kingsley's Adventure was another request that happened there. And yeah, it was pretty fun to do. For a kid's game, it definitely has a lot of unfair things that were happening in there. And the tank controls weren't really all that good. But it's certainly the fun game. It definitely has another soundtrack that just keeps it up a whole lot. There's really not much more I can really say about it, other than it was a really fun ride while it was happening in there. Now I'm going up the list of all my videos and seeing the With Friends videos that I'm coming up with. And to be honest, I don't know how I feel about this anymore. It's definitely a different take on myself and what I was willing to put on this channel. It felt like I was really following trends again when it came to like bring in a whole couple people, have a whole bunch of things. I don't feel like it was really successful, though. It definitely harkened a lot of more negative comments when it came to, geez, everybody sounds completely drunk as they were going through. Can you all shut up, because you're kind of ruining the game for me. And yeah, I kind of agree with that, because a lot of them I can't even I don't know, they're really just not enjoyable to watch anymore. They're definitely a product of their own time. They just don't have a lot of longevity to them. Alice Madness Returns was just a bad idea. We did VVVV. Phantasmagoria, I just hate. Like, my goodness, what did I do? Like, there was a lot of... There's that side of me. I am not someone who's outgoing and has a whole lot of energy like that. And just having that in terms of, like, completely forgetting that I'm being recorded, that's kind of the stuff that comes out of it. Like, yeah, like, Phantasmagoria was complete mess. And I don't even know if I want to do it again, like, and do it more professionally. I enjoy it less and less as the years go on, pretty much. It's really slow. There was some really good bits there. Like, in terms of when, with all of my other videos, I tend to not laugh a whole lot, I find. Just personally. And then you have, like, when the first, like, different versions of, like, Super Mario 64 co-op were actually happening.
Oh god.
Yeah.
Whoa! Now we can do slide.
Try the princess's room on the second floor of the room, in the room with the painting of Womp's Fortress on floor 1. Bowser's troops are still gaining powers, so you can't go out save us, Mario. Keep searching for stars.
Okay.
Woo!
Woo!
Oh, there's the door.
God, this is a fun time. This is a fun time.
Oh,
No!
This is a fun time.
Shit.
This is a fun...
Oh my god! I don't know where I am.
Oh boy.
I'm amazed that the first
It was
one
such
fell.
a
Yeah,
bloody
we
mess.
fell first.
Oh god! Oh god! No!
What is happening? What is happening? Oh,
There we
no. I'm going this way far. Oh god! No! 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 That was the best slide ride ever.
It was so good.
That was
That was such a good time. I still have good feelings about some of the videos, just not all of them. But my goodness, yeah, like that was a fun time. And I'm glad that even like some of the With Friends videos actually did have a positive vibe with people. Just because like some of it was completely a mess. Like, I'm glad we did Amnesia. Just kind of getting that obligatory Amnesia stuff that was going on. I was actually told by my friends, like, yeah, I was interested in seeing, like, how actually scary it was because they didn't play the games at all. I'm going, like, well, I have it, and we can actually just, like, kind of do it. And it started off with, like, 4 of us, and then it was down to me and my best friend. And we just kind of went ahead and did it all. We did a whole bunch of games, personally. One of them being Conker's Bad Fur Day as another request. But there was other games that we kind of did personally, and we set time apart from our busy schedules to just kind of get together and relax and be together, and it was a really good time. I did so much work with Bible Buffet, trying to find that manual with all of the quiz questions. Like, I actually was able to find it. I was really worried that I was not going to be able to find it. And I was able to, and actually had to write it all down separately on a Word document because the way that it was saved, I wasn't able to actually do anything with it. It's crazy. But it's like overall with the With Friends videos, like, yeah, it was going to die down eventually because life happens and things change. And this was just kind of a snapshot of what life was in between like 2013 and 2014 for everything that was happening there. And then I had a mix between 2 different things that were going on, 2 different LPs, 2 very different LPs. One being Prototype, and the other one being The Ball. Prototype, I don't even remember what got me into actually doing it. I think it was just because I was watching something else, and I'm going like, it was a super fun game to play, and there was so many interesting things in order to do with it. then I'm going, hey, let's have some fun with it. And then the ball, on the other hand, was kind of more of a personal, enjoyable project for me, because when it came to the ball, the game completely clicked with me when I first played it. And I knew that I wanted to actually do the game, but not with me talking over it, because obviously it would be a bad time if I was actually going to talk over it. It would kill the vibe. So I'm going, hey, well, in terms of the history of LP's Let's Plays, like, they started as screenshots, which helped so much for RPGs because it cut down a lot of the fluff. And then when it came into video, yes, you could do commentary, but you can also do your own personal subtitles on top of it, kind of like mashing in between the screenshot format and the video format together. I'm going, like, this will actually work, so I can do like a bit of a narrative piece, get into the character's mindset as best as I could, even though I don't think that really worked out a whole lot. But with the ball, it was just kind of necessary in order to keep the atmosphere properly. It was fun. It was a fun time. I still really enjoy and respect the game for what it is. And I really wonder if I'm actually going to go back to Atlantis and that area of those kind of games, because the Solus project seems like a perfect opportunity in order to go back and do kind of a project in that format. Who knows? It might happen in the next 10 years. Prototype, on the other hand, is a different story, because I found that success wasn't actually in playing the game. The success actually came from the achievement videos that I was doing on top of it. So like the Web of Intrigue, and especially the landmark videos, which to this day, I still get comments on those videos thanking me for how comprehensive I was in order to show where each of the 200 landmarks and where they are. It kind of makes me feel like I did a disservice when it came to the hint bubbles, because I decided to put the hint bubbles at the beginning of every main video, and I'm trying to remember why I actually did that, but I really couldn't say. I still get people who are playing like the PS4 versions of Prototype and Prototype 2 going back and going, I had 199 out of 200 landmarks for the longest time, and I was able to find them based on your videos, so thank you. Which is still a really nice feeling that of all of the achievement guides that are on YouTube, mine somehow are enough in order to slip through the cracks in order to actually be seen. And that's fantastic, really. So that's like the biggest success with Prototype. And then when it comes to like Conker's Bad Fur Day, because I mentioned that was like kind of the last thing that the With Friends formula actually created. It was requested as a blind LP, which I respected and did with my friend. But when it came to a blind LP, that was personally something that I had to fight with on a personal level, because I am not someone who does blind LPs very well. I need something to talk about. I am a very quiet person when it comes to playing a game for the first time. I internalize so many things. So when it came to doing Conker's Bad Fur Day, I'm going like, I need to talk. I need to actually say things. And it was so hard for me at some points in order to do that. And I know that I was like, I will never do a game like that, personally, without someone else by my side. I can't do it by myself, because if I do it by myself, it's going to be a rough ride. It really, really will be. I will point out that with the Conker's Bad Fur Day videos, there were 2 instances where we had to do sections a second time, so it wasn't completely blind. Which also just, like, knocked out our commentary a whole lot, because we had to do it again and again and again. And I will also mention that We were still using that microphone. 2014, we were still using that microphone. It never went anywhere.
Near, far,
Wherever you are, baby will still.
Baby will
Yeah, we were losing our minds.
All right. There's no time for a full diagnostic, but I need to see if the chameleon system works.
So, the history behind this, yeah, it was a total teaser way into the past of actually doing Legacy of Time, but when it came to actually, like, getting this done, originally I was going to be using my original CDs in order to get this done, and using a virtual machine. But the thing with that I'm still having problems with, even to this day with some games that I'm trying to get running, is that the panning or scrolling effects that are happening in those games, and Legacy of Time is all about panning the camera around in order to see your surroundings, is that it's always too fast. And you can try and slow it down, hardware acceleration, you can try and slow it down, but you'll always have these kind of things happening. It's crazy. That was my face for a lot of that. That's my face. At that point, it was completely impossible, but I felt like I needed to actually record that in order to do stuff with it. Because, yeah, when it came to Legacy of Time... When was I actually starting this? It was the end of my undergrad that I was actually starting this. I did the 2 recap videos for Legacy of Time, and then I was moving out of my place. And during all that time, I was going, okay, I finished my undergrad, I've graduated, I want to keep that academic area actually continuing there. And I want to say that Legacy of Time is still one of my most successful series in my mind, just because of the content that I was putting out, not because of the view count. Because with that, I had this entire idea based on just the word go, and when you got Arthur for the first time in Legacy of Time, one of his first comments is about Thera and Santorini and the explosion that was happening there, and I wanted to know more. So I did a research, and then the rest of that snowballed from there. Most of the time, it was because of Arthur's comments and going like, I want to dig a little deeper. I have access to all of these scholarly articles that were happening there, and so the Legacy of Time history series was born.
Thera is the southernmost island of the Cyclades group of islands of Greece.
The Chrono Cross music is back, of course.
The name
Pardon my French, but that was fucking interesting. I known of the eruption beforehand, but I didn't really know its effects.
Thera was founded by Doric
People like the Chrono Cross soundtrack, because it's just perfect.
The Dorians were one of the 3 major...
Yeah, I still really liked it, to be completely honest. I still really like the history series a whole lot. There's not a lot I would put into it or really change with it. The only thing that I will mention is that, even though I just graduated at the time, I did a horrible sin and just didn't cite my sources at all. Nobody's called me out on it, but yeah, that's a thing that's totally happened right there. It was, some of them, they were really easy to do because there was either not a lot of information that was going on with it, or I was able to actually just kind of pump it out, knew exactly what I was going to put into it. The information was easily accessible, or there was just so much but at the same time, there were certain topics that I wanted to do where there was so little information that I was really digging, or there was too much information. So, for instance, like the second Atlantis video, which is going like, where is Atlantis in the world? Where is this mythical city possibly going to be? There was a lot of information that I had to condense in order to make a video about. Which honestly has led to a comment that I've kind of had in my spam folder for the longest time. And it's such a beautiful mess of a comment that I don't even believe that it could possibly be real. I just love it so much. So yeah, like with Legacy of Time, like, that was a super amazing thing that I was able to do. I would say the hardest video in order to do was the Atlantis video, just because when it came to editing, I had to edit it twice. Because I completely screwed up the video part. It wasn't the audio part, it was the video part that I had to completely redo, and it was a pain in the butt. So many extra hours that I had to spend. I would say the hardest video in terms of research that I had to do was the third Atlantis video, which was on ancient espionage. Because I would think that it would be able to find something, but I had to stretch my definition of what ancient actually was. I couldn't really find anything that anybody had been studying at that specific time of when Atlantis, in terms of the Legacy of Time timeline, would have actually happened. So I had to go, I think it was like a couple like 100 years into the future in order to find something there. But it's still a really interesting area there. And I only found 2 articles of 2 studies that were actually found right there. But at least it was enough, and was super interesting information. And it's like the last big success when it came to the Legacy of Time videos was that they were shared on the official Journeyman Project and Twitter pages, Facebook and Twitter pages. And it's like, I never realized, I was blown away completely when it came to that and what that actually was and what was actually happening there, and seeing people like really excited to see more of like me actually going through it, and also like the history videos, and that was how they were being shared around. It was so much more meaningful than just having like 20,000 views on a video, because like the people who were watching it were invested a little bit more into those. And that is where I find that there's more success into it. It isn't about view count. It's about who is watching your videos and who is watching what you make. Because if you're finding like, if you have a lot of views for something, that doesn't mean much if it's like not meaningful watching, or people are like pretty much just clicking on and clicking off. But if they're coming to your videos going like, I'm really interested in what's actually happening here, or this was shared around going like, this is super interesting, I'm actually going to be looking into what this actually is, then it, for me, it means a lot more. And when it came to Legacy of Time, and then finally with Pegasus Prime, it was just a fantastic thing. I loved it. It was such a heartwarming thing to actually be part of. It was great. I don't know what it was about reviewing that I decided to get into. I guess it was just really impulse. I try not to be too impulsive, just because it can lead to rough things in terms of what I can do. But when it came to like a review, I was super excited to actually play Roundabout, which is a great game. Go play it. I think I'm still like on the top 10 in terms of speedrunning it. But I kind of just got into the feeling of when I play video games specifically, I don't like try to rush through it. I always try to absorb them and like play them for months at a time. Like there's people who will try to get a new game, finish it in 2 days, and then they're done with it. And when it comes to reviewers, I know that I can't not be a professional viewer, because that's not how I play games. So when it came to Roundabout coming out, I'm going like, okay, I do need to play this. I do need to get footage of a decent amount of time into it in order to start making my review of it. And like, it was really enjoyable to do. I just kind of understand a little bit more of like, you need to be really fast with your review before it just kind of gets lost, which is an unfortunate thing. Yeah, so there's Croc 2. I don't really know if I have much to really say about Croc 2 other than it exists, and I'm going like, I knew after Croc, the first Croc game, I knew I had to play the second one, but it was kind of just like a flash in the pan for me. I kind of did it because I felt more obligated in order to do it. And it just kind of happened. And then finally, like, there's the Magical Hoppers ending for Sega Saturn. I kind of made it as more of a a test, pretty much, for my next project that happened afterwards. Because, yeah, I even say in the description, this seems to be nowhere on the internet. Like, the opening is. The opening was a very long time ago. And I think this is, like, the same person who was always asking, was like, anybody able to translate this at all? I'm going, like, no. Yeah, because there isn't even, like, closed captions on it. But yeah, like, I pretty much just went through on the Sega Saturn version of playing Magical Hoppers, played through the game again, and did what I needed to do. Maybe some people were asking, it's like, why didn't you play the Japanese version of Pandemonium 2? Well, because it's the exact same. They completely dropped these characters and dropped the premise and just put it together, pretty much. So yeah, there wasn't really a whole lot for anybody to really say in that regard. Because right after that, like, I'm going, like, I was testing out Sega Saturn stuff, and going, like, I really wanted to play Magic Knight Ray Earth. For some reason. I think it was just kind of in that mood. I knew that I wanted to get back into RPGs. I knew I watched the Ray Earth 3-episode OVA a lot when I was younger. And then I watched the series, and then I watched the second season as well. And it was kind of in my mind wanting to do a little bit more with the series, with doing this playthrough of, like, talking about the series a little bit. And I think I did a little bit. But it definitely didn't come out, and I knew that I was, like, just, like, over bloating the entire project, because I was already doing the Sega Saturn version. I was doing a comparison of the Super Nintendo version, which, way back when I started the channel, I was just going to do just the Super Nintendo version. I wasn't going to do the Sega Saturn version, and I'm glad I waited until I did this way, because it would have been so boring. It would have been so boring if I just did the Super Nintendo version. I just kind of don't understand the numbers that came off of Ray Earth, because, like, the first little bit I'm kind of understanding of, like, what actually happened there, but then by the time the finale comes, I'm going, like, why is everything just, like, all of the numbers just completely don't add up. Some are under 100. Like, the first part of the finale is almost at 6,500. I'm like, why? Where is anything happening here? It's kind of crazy that way. And then I did Incredible Crisis, which I almost took a year off in between, which I made a little longer because I wanted to talk about Tokyo Ska Paradise Orchestra, and that was, again, a really fun time. It was something I really wanted to do with that. So it's like each video at the very end, it was just kind of a little bit of a blurb continuing that kind of momentum that I had for the Legacy of Time history, but instead going into music of a specific group. I'm definitely learned how to get around with my videos in order for them to actually be viewable for everybody, because there were some videos where they were just completely blocked. It's like, you're not able to watch this because of the footage that I decided to put in, or the music track that I decided to use. So that was kind of a pain, but when it immediately gets claimed, and especially when it gets blocked in some areas, that's something I didn't want to actually have that continuing. Because, yeah, Incredible Crisis was a fun time. Especially doing, like, the Japanese only areas, too. And the second, still using the first microphone. It's 2016, I'm still using the first microphone. And last minigame that is not in the English version. Technically, this is the first one you come across if you're playing the game regularly, but this is the second one as per the storyline. It was also a project where I had to pretty much record everything and then seamlessly put it into chronological order in order to get all of that done. But it was a fun time. Because then right after that, I was doing Pegasus Prime, which was a really good time. It was, I think that, like, the main problem I did have with Pegasus Prime was it was the one I was the least familiar with. So it took me a while in order to actually do it because I did it like 2 years after it actually was released. So it's like I had it sitting around and I was just kind of fiddling around with it. And then 2 years later, I'm actually going into it. People were really excited that I was actually doing it. But then, like, I kind of dropped the ball when it came to that. I was back in school at the time. Because when it came to the deaths, I completely dropped the ball with actually doing them in a decent time frame.
Project Pegasus
And
Prime.
I think it was at this time with Pegasus Prime.
Temporal rip is over.
If it wasn't
It is
Pegasus
over.
Prime,
It is
it was
We have gone
the project
through all of the
afterwards
reps
that I
and have
finally
ensured that
retired
the Unification Treaty has
that
been
microphone.
signed. We have
I finally retired that microphone, either with Pegasus Prime or it was definitely with the next one, Black Dahlia, because it was getting to that point. Especially when I finished Pegasus Prime by specifically like streaming, doing the final achievement that I had to get, which was hearing all of the AI comments. Because that was a nice 4 hours of fun. 4 hours of fun for me. Even though not a lot of people were there until like the very end, which is understandable. I'm still not that popular in order to actually stream anything, right? Because then it was after that point. It was 2016 that was like a huge time for me. Because I was finishing up my second degree in order to get my job. And it was in 2016 that I also had like my first vacation in just like forever. And that was where the Buried in Time History series kind of had its start and possible end right at the same time. Because I had the wonderful opportunity to actually go to Chichen Itza, and I'm going like, because in the back of my mind, I'm going, I did the Legacy of Time history, but I never did anything for Buried in Time. And I totally could have with Chichen Itza, Da Vinci's workshop, and that kind of area, and just talking about Da Vinci overall, and Chateau Gaillard. And I was kind of thinking to myself, I don't want to just do another history series like that, especially years out. So I wanted to do something like really super special with it. So what's more super special than actually being able to go to it present day and actually get some footage for it and then incorporate that into that kind of format of the video to keep everything consistent. So I've been to Chichen Itza. Who knows when I'd be able to go to those 2 other locations and ultimately do a 3-video series. Who knows? That can be a goal for me with the 2020s. Where would I be in the next 5 years? Probably going to one of those places. And by the end of those 10 years, I'd be able to go to both of them. I really hope so. It'll be a goal of mine for this channel in order to actually be able to see that and enjoy that, and then being able to share with everything with you, and maybe have like higher, and maybe even have higher production values.
intentionally damaging an item was thought to be, quote, I did not have the opportunity to visit all of the site, as we arrived later in the day, so most of the outlying temples and landmarks.
Yeah, I kind of wish that I had a better camera in there, but apparently if I had a better camera, I would have had to pay like licensing fees in order to film in there. So I'm glad I had just like my little digital camera at this point. But now I should have.
Are something I would love to.
I would love to be able to film a little bit better in terms of that area around there. Because there was a lot of fantastic stuff that was actually happening there at the current day. Especially at the main temple. It was just a fascinating time. That chest, the mystery chest next to the excavation, I really wanted to know what was inside of it too. Man. Well, I hope to be able to, in the future, do a little bit more with the Buried in Time history stuff. Chateau Gaillard and talk about Da Vinci. I'm really looking forward to it. Black Dahlia kind of took me back to doing more classic stuff. I guess I was thinking more of like Take-Two, and I was thinking about like, in my head I'm going like, there was Ripper, that the company also did, which is more famous compared to Black Dahlia. But I like Black Dahlia more because it just feels more, feels stronger, more contained. It was certainly the easiest series for me to do from the classic old PC area where it just kind of just ran on my computer and I was able to do it. The biggest problem with it, though, was that cursor bleed happened everywhere. And if I had too much of it, the cursor would just freeze and then I would have to completely restart the game in order to get it done. I was glad to be able to actually figure out how to save everything, so that was really good. Estefan was a video in the making because I had to try and explain how that rune puzzle actually went. And my goodness.
Job, which is actually really easy because you have access to the parchment sheets.
I went crazy. Like, can you tell I went crazy?
And there's a copy of it on screen right now. You'll find out that all of the rune combinations on their own don't mean anything.
There was so many red herrings and so many directions you could go that just led nowhere.
Or like, I would want to say that there was actually information, maybe information based on the chanting that the Brotherhood did, but we don't have enough information on that to do anything with it, like Yisu Degas or anything like that.
I never ever beat this puzzle without using the cheat code or walkthrough. I would look at it a little bit and then just say screw it and check the guide. Very nice to see such a thorough explanation of it. In my opinion, the definitive and hardest puzzle of the game. I don't even know if I explained it well enough, to be completely honest. And then, like, when it comes down to it, like, I love the puzzle because you were able to do it at any time. You were, like, the puzzle was just available to you. Right from the very beginning of the game when you just, like, looked up into the light and were able to come up with a bag of runes. You were able to just do it right then and there and have it ready for you when you actually needed it. So I kind of like that puzzle structure where it's just kind of sitting around and you try to get as much information as possible before you actually do it. And then in the end, you completely just, like, scratch your head with it. All things considered. Because then lastly, when it comes to, like, actual projects that were happening there is, well, Neopets. Neopets I wanted to do for the longest time. People were actually mentioning that I should do Neopets when I did Kingsley's Adventure. And there's a lot of viewers over the years who know exactly where I'm going in my head. You know my head, you know my progression going like, I really want to do this game. I really want to do this game. And I'm glad I waited because, in all honesty, I had footage for Neopets back in 2011 when I did Sword of Eteria, because I actually recorded all the footage for both games. The Neopets footage was so interlaced, was filled with so much crud, that I really didn't feel like I would use it. But I kept it with me for the longest time because it was my most definitive playthrough that I'd ever done. I was able to find things that I'd never found before that really weren't documented anywhere. And so I just kept that footage for the hopes that in the future that I would go through this game again, record it a whole lot better, and use that as reference to go, okay, how am I going to structure this pretty much? So ultimately, my definitive run was used in order to make a more definitive run where I was talking to everybody. There was all of the unfinished stuff that I was able to find after years of waiting and other information just resurfacing about the game. And it just became so much better than I could have possibly asked for. Right there. It was really, really, really good. Yeah. Like, I would say that for so many of them, I enjoyed the process of actually being able to go through this and enjoy it, even though in the back of my mind, I'm kind of going like, well, I know this isn't going to be like super popular. I know this isn't going to get too many views when it comes to it. And even with like Neopets, I did like the stupid thing of like doing 2 April Fool's jokes for it. One being the official first video for it, which I'm going like, what am I actually doing? Like, I'm insane.
Oh no.
Like, I'm completely insane. Like there was that one, I'm going like, yeah, this will be an April Fool's joke for everybody. And then there was the first one, like a year beforehand, where I was just going like through a BuzzFeed quiz. This video, here's the process for this video. I did this, I got off of work at about 9:30 at night, April Fool's Day. Went to my car. I was sick. So sick. I had barely any voice. Went in my car, had my laptop, had my other microphone with me. Was able to use like Home Depot internet pretty much. And just went ahead, or actually I did that ahead of time. I had the video pretty much already set up. And just recorded the audio footage on top of the footage that I already did. It was such a mess. It was such... And I'm going like, I'm just gonna do like a really crappy... It was... I feel so bad now that this is here.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new series.
Listen to my
from
voice.
the Simply Orylen. Welcome to Let's Play BuzzFeed Farm.
Man, I totally was so coy. I love being coy. You like my mannerisms? Like everything, like I do. Like this is just me being coy. Like you know, like this is gonna come out. This is gonna come out eventually. Who knows? Like this is like, you know, it's gonna be a little better like this. Like I'm just gonna really just like poke and prod, like where my ideas, where my thoughts are for what my next project's gonna be. Because you know, it's a waste of time. But now it comes to like the present day. And like there's all my projects that are pretty much right there. I've done so many. Like I'm surprised with how many I've been able to do over the 10 years. And what I've really wanted to do was like actually work a little bit harder on a whole bunch of different things. So like at the end of 2017, I was starting to go, I need to do more produced stuff. Because I kind of stopped in the middle of Black Dahlia and kind of went, I feel very not great about everything, and I want to do a little bit more. So when it came to the end of 2017, I'm going like, okay, let's talk about the games that I've been playing. Let's actually have more constructive things to say. Let's do some reviews. I have some things to say about a whole bunch of different things. I keep going in my mind like, I really like Pandora's Tower. I'm glad I was able to play it. I really wonder about actually just doing something more with it other than that one review, and then continued that with like a bunch of other different things and wanted to do more produced review like stuff. Like I played Risen, which turned into more of a story time video where it came to like, I really enjoyed playing Risen, but man was it annoying to actually finish because it really didn't want me to finish it. There was some things that I really wouldn't want to do again, like Twitch highlights. I barely stream. What's the point of Twitch highlights if you barely stream? But I think it really came down to what I wanted to do when I put out that Prototype 2 video. I wanted to do Prototype 2 for a very long time. And when it came to this, I'm going, I know I don't want to do a full playthrough and do all the stuff that I did for the first Prototype video, because I looked at what people were watching and it was more for the completionists, the achievement hunters. And when it came to Prototype 2, I'm going like, it doesn't play the same, and it's much easier to do everything in the game that it's really not necessary for me to do anything. So I'm going, I want to talk about this game because there's a lot going on here. Like, Radical Entertainment doesn't really exist anymore because this game did poorly enough for Activision. So I'm going like, maybe I can try my hand, do a little bit more improving with my production, and create a video essay. 6 months later, playing through the game multiple times, writing my script, recording it, re-recording it, and through all of the editing that I did, eventually this came out, and I was really happy with the reception that I was able to get from it. There was a lot of just like complaints that were happening with it. Like the like-dislike ratio is actually something that like people were engaged. Like that's something I don't get with my videos is people were actually engaged with it, which is a great thing that was happening with it. And people were like really happy with the areas that I kind of went into, except like this one down here. Horrible video. Nice job saying you disliked the game, so you played it 4 times even though you hated it. Trying to copy the video essays of people who actually know what they're talking about, this just seems like a middle school essay. The dislikes show that you have no idea what you are on about. Which is like, it's not entirely false. Because, again, this is the first time I was doing it. I had to actually dig into Reddit at the time in order to actually get some actual feedback constructively that was happening on it. And, like, to be honest, when it comes to, like, playing through over and over and over again, I do dislike the game, but I still enjoy playing it. It's a fun game to play. It's just, like, not as strong as the first game is. I played it 4 times because by the time I was playing it through the 3rd time, I was really learning a whole lot more about the character dynamics, the narrative design. I was seeing comparisons that I didn't see the first 2 times that I played it, so I was glad that I was able to actually strengthen my points that I was making in my video, which playing through it once would never have been able to actually do. If I only played it once and then just kind of slapped a video up on here, I probably wouldn't have been happy with it, because later down the line, I probably would have said to myself, oh, but there was this other thing in this game that I completely didn't mention, and it would have strengthened my argument. So I really wanted to make absolutely sure that I was putting everything that I wanted to put in there. There were things that I even cut out as a result because it didn't really match my overall point that I was trying to make by the very end of it. Like, I wanted to talk about the marketing overall with the game, the pre-production that was kind of happening, but there really wasn't a space for it in the end when it came to tying everything in. So there were things that I even cut with this video. I'm glad overall that I was able to do it at all, because working on this video for over almost half a year, several times there were cases where I was not motivated in order to continue it. I was motivated more to scrapping it, going, especially with a channel like mine, who cares? Nothing about this actually means anything. Who is gonna watch this? Or like, my time is better spent elsewhere. But I'm glad that I was able to actually just pull through, persevere, make this video, and get my thoughts out, because when it comes to me personally, it's hard for me to get my thoughts out about certain things, and I knew that I wanted to do this in order to just kind of strengthen this area of this little hobby of mine. Like, people do this, and people put out a video like this every week sometimes, and I'm going like, how do you honestly do that? Like other than honestly making it your actual job. But for me, I'm going like, my goodness, it's a lot to do. I have so much more respect for people who do this. So much. So much. And that's why I was inspired by them. So yeah, I'm glad that I was able to actually get this video out. And like, the very fast growth and people watching it at the time, at the beginning of 2019, was great to see. I still really respect what I was able to do with this, even if people hated it. I'm just glad people were engaged with it. That's all. I guess that's pretty much like my rundown memory lane. When it comes to reflecting like this over 10 years, there's so much to take away from reflecting on what you've been able to do, more than reflecting on where you were at the very beginning versus where you are now. Because in terms of my life is not just this channel. Sure, when I started my channel, I was kind of going like, yeah, I'm going to be the most popular person ever. I'm going to be the first person to be able to do this, and I'm going to be super popular just based on that. And that didn't happen because other people came up. Other people had way more success. They had way more strategies than I could have possibly imagined. They were in the right place at the right time. They decided to follow the trends in order to build up their audience. Whereas me, I was just kind of going like, this is my hobby. I'm still going to school. I'm still getting my education. I'm working towards a career, and in order to make sure that I am secure in my life. And then my channel kind of just went by the wayside in terms of where my priorities lie. 10 years is a long time for you to change your priorities, and that's kind of what happened there. So when other people are reflecting on like where they began and what their first video was, and going like, I only had 1,500 subscribers by the end of the first year, and now I have 500,000 to 1.5 million subscribers. I'm kind of going, I had zero subscribers when I started. And now I have just about 600 subscribers by this 10 years. No, I am not as successful as anybody else who is doing a video like this. But I kind of look at the subscribers who did come to this channel in order to see these kind of videos. And I know that my subscriber base is made of people who are really interested sometimes in the videos that I do. And when I see their comments, I have a better idea of who they are. Because there's with having such a small subscriber base, you get a sense of like who your actual people are versus having 40,000 comments on one video of just people who are just talking and shouting out into the dark because those people can't read their comments anymore because it's just too much. A small channel like mine, I'm able to, like, seeing that bell on my page, just kind of showing that is beautiful because I'm going like, someone's engaged with my channel. This is fantastic. And I still have that rush. Whereas having 99 plus on that bell, going like, yeah, this is just like nothing new. This doesn't have the same kind of magic that it used to. And I'm glad that magic still kind of exists. And I'm glad that I still feel like I can grow and do my own stuff with my channel. There's so many different ideas that I still want to do that really have nothing to do with what YouTube wants to do. But it shouldn't have to do with what YouTube wants to do. It should have to do with what I want to do. And for a lot of those like large subscriber bases, when it comes to like reflecting back to their first video, I wonder if they're ever able to know who like their first subscriber was, in a sense. Like, who was that when you had 0 subscribers and you only had a couple videos out? Who was that first person? Who was that first name that you saw that subscribed to your channel? Because even 10 years later, I can still remember who that person was. It was at my 4th video. It was at Let's Play Star Ocean 04, Rockman, that my first subscriber showed up. And that person was a she. Her name on YouTube was Toad-A26. That channel is no longer up, unfortunately. But I also remember the kind of things that she said to me after she subscribed, because she left 2 channel comments on my channel at that time. Both of them had to do with nothing but compliments on what I was doing at the very beginning of my channel, saying just how brave I was in order to put myself out there, in order to speak about something that I really liked, and how it didn't feel like I was that shy at all in order to actually speak out, which I found very strengthening and encouraging from that, because I took advantage of like looking at the channel who first subscribed to me and going like, what was the channel that was subscribing to me looking like there? Her channel had one video on it. And that video was her in front of her camera trying to do the same thing that I was, which was speaking to an online audience. She seemed very nervous, just like I was back in 2010. And to be honest, it's been 10 years, and this is the first time that I'm in front of a camera. It took me 10 years in order to do this. So I don't know if she's around at all, but when it comes to her saying how brave I was back then, she was more brave than I was, because I did not show myself at all. It was, yeah, she has a huge amount of courage. She had a huge amount of courage back then in order to make that kind of video, no matter what it looked like. So yeah, that's kind of my first subscriber kind of story right there for you. Like, if you remember what your first subscriber story was, let me know. I kind of say that right now, and it sounds so weird in order to do, and I know that I'm probably not going to get anything because of the channel that I have, but I'm interested to know, or at least share this kind of story out, of going like, for the big subscribing channels, do you remember who your first subscriber was? Because I'd be fascinated to know who that was and what that meant. Because, 10 years, or however long YouTube channels have actually been around, your YouTube channel has been around, a lot of stuff happens. A lot of stuff changes. Some of it is for better or worse. I can't say that all of it can be for the good, because there has been low points throughout my last 10 years. It's a lot of history there. A lot of changes. When I started, I was 17. Now I'm 27. I've moved many times. I've started my career outside of doing YouTube videos as a hobby, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future actually holds. So, this is kind of my reflection on everything right there. If there's anything else you would like to know, any questions you have for me, let me know in the comments. Alright. Well, that's all. Take care, everyone. I'll see you next time for the next project that actually hits this channel. Look forward to 2020. See you then.